Hey, Slater, welcome back. I just got a ton more to say about this topic here. This line has haunted me since we talked about it, I think, on the last Tuesday or something like that. We talked about this book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. It's the second most popular book right now behind White Fragility. So this is one of the lines from the book. He says the most, I think we have it, do we have it on the screen? Yeah, the most threatening racist movement is not the alt-right's unlikely drive for a white ethno-state. The most threatening racist movement is the regular Americans' drive for a race-neutral one. Isn't that amazing? Like, that is so obviously contradictory to Martin Luther King Jr.'s message of, I have a dream, right, that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they'll not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Like, that's the exact opposite message. But it's not only that one like line that MLK had, right? Like, there's so many speeches and sermons that he gave to that very same effect. On my radio show, we read one of his sermons where he talked about how white power is a bad thing, but so is black power, right? You can't replace white power with black power and call that victory, right? So the idea that we're going to have a race-neutral society is the biggest threat in America today. So that's the premises of his book is you are either racist. Well, okay, so the premise of White Fragility is there's 2 people, racist people and racist people. You're either racist and admit it, or you're racist and you're too emotionally fragile to admit it. This How to Be an Anti-Racist guy, pretty similar. His are you're either racist or you're actively fighting against it, which means joining the Black Lives Matter movement and everything else that they stand for as well, deconstructing everything that we talked about in the last segment. So you're either racist or you're anti-racist. There's no in between. This is, and no colorblind, right? You can't be like, oh, well, I'm just going to treat everybody equally. No, you're more than that. I'm going to judge everybody by the content of their character. No, you mustn't. You must only judge people by the color of their skin, just the way we want you to judge them by the color of their skin. So this is a new documentary that's out about Brett Weinstein. Do you remember this guy? I hope you do, and I hope you follow him. He's great. So back in 2017, he was a professor at Evergreen State in Washington. And students have this tradition called Day of Absence. So for, I don't know how long they've been doing it, but a day of absence was when all the minority students and faculty would stay away from the campus to highlight their contribution to the community or whatever. But that one year, 2017, they decided to flip it. And instead of minority kids leaving campus, they were going to force white people off of campus. You see the difference there? And Weinstein, white guy, he's like, no, I'm not gonna, I'm definitely not gonna do that. You're not going to force me to leave campus because I'm white. He sent this email to a student. He said, there's a difference between a group deciding to voluntarily absent themselves from a shared space in order to highlight their vital and unappreciated roles, and a group encouraging other groups to go away. That second is a show of force and an act of oppression in and of itself. So that's what he wrote to campus, to the students. And everyone totally flipped out on him, just screaming the worst stuff you could possibly imagine. It's like, this was one of the insane scenes. If you've seen videos of Evergreen State, just go, well, you watched the documentary actually. And just kids are screaming out, just crazy, crazy stuff. So this is part of the documentary. The beginning of this clip, he's talking about going to a meeting. And when someone says there's white supremacy on campus, whenever he or another faculty member would say, what was it? What happened? And not in a mean way, just I want to be able to evaluate and potentially join you in denouncing this, but you what is it? Tell me what happened. Here's what happened.
And this faculty member said that, she said, to ask students who are suffering from white supremacy to tell us about the instances of white supremacy is itself racism. And she said, we must stop asking them because we are inflicting harm on them, asking for evidence. And the phrase she used, she said, to ask for evidence of racism is racism with a capital R. And as she said, racism with a capital R, she leaned forward in her seat and she looked directly at me. And I had been leaning back in my chair. There was no opportunity to ask questions in these meetings. I sat up in my chair and I said, are you talking to me? And she said, yes. And I looked around the room and nobody said a word.
Amazing. I can't even ask for examples. Right? heaven forbid, someone gives you an example of white supremacy in America or something that happened to them, and they share an example and you say, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal, is it? Or maybe you interpreted that wrong, or maybe you were assuming the worst of that moment or of that person, right? So if some old white lady tells you, hey, I like your hair, is she being racist? Or just maybe a bit awkward? Or is she trying to be nice? She's just genuinely like a nice person. Or are you enslaved, right? You just reject this idea that everyone is racist. Slater Crusaders, thanks for watching the first on YouTube. If you want more, like, subscribe. We got plenty.